Hi, I'm Chris Lang. While considered a top email delivery specialist, I don't know anything about this GDPR stuff. But my partner, Mark Goldman, is your GDPR expert. So, Mark, what is GDPR? Why should we care? And how the heck are you going to save our assets?
Hey, Chris, thanks a million for the intro and for asking me to talk about GDPR today. Folks, my name is Mark Goldman, and I've been involved in the email marketing world for over 24 years. And that's like 100 years in the real world, but 24 years in the internet world, working with this crazy business that we call email. And my only concern in life with all the businesses that I run is to help my clients, people just like you, maximize the results that they get from their email marketing. That means your job selling whatever it is you sell, it doesn't really matter to me, whatever product or service that it is you have to sell, you want to sell more of it. And I assume you're listening to this call because you want to sell more of it via email. And that's great because that's exactly what my clients want. And that's what I spend my life doing. And that's what people pay me for. So what I want to talk about today is something that everyone has been worried about, and they call it GDPR. And to me, this is the email marketing equivalent of Chicken Little. You remember the little story Chicken Little from when we were small? Everyone talked about how the sky was going to fall. Maybe some of you have been around long enough to remember Y2K. They were doing the same thing in 1999 with the millennial crisis and how all computers were going to crash. And if you're too young and you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about with that, go and rent the movie Office Space, or stream the movie Office Space to talk in 2018 terms, and watch and see how concerned people were. They hired a ton of these obscure developers just to go and fix this problem with the dates on computers, because the world was gonna just explode, it looked like, if we didn't do this. And that's how everyone's acting about GDPR. Let me first explain what GDPR is, then what it's not, and then how it affects you. Okay, now remember, throughout this conversation, everything I want you to think about is how all you should be concerned about is, how does this affect your ability to sell more of your products and services? And that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so first, what is GDPR? Well, GDPR is a set of laws that come down from the European Union, okay? And they only affect European Union residents, or how we as marketers interact with people who reside in the European Union. Okay, so they don't affect you whether you live in Timbuktu, whether you live in the US, or whether you live in Canada, or like myself, I live in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So they don't affect us unless we're marketers with lists that contain people in the European Union. So what do these laws do? Well, these laws basically, in a nutshell, say that if you've been marketing by email to people from the European Union, that you have to have their explicit consent to continue to do so. What does explicit consent mean? Well, basically, it means that you have some digital proof that that person has agreed to receive emails from you. What's the form of this digital proof? Well, it could come in the form of a checkbox, and come in the form of we refer to sometimes as a terms of service or an agreement, right? Where people will come to your website, go to your opt-in form, come from your Facebook ads, get presented with an opt-in form, hit your funnels, get presented with an opt-in form. And on it, you specifically say, not only am I going to send you this information that you're asking for right now, but I'm going to continue to market to you in the future. Do you agree to that? And if you don't have that explicit consent from people from the European Union, then the law says that the European Union itself can then fine you in fines up to 20 million euros. Now, everyone is panicking over this and saying, I'm throwing out my entire list. I'm throwing out my entire database. I don't even care. I don't have this explicit consent. I don't know how to get this explicit consent. I'm here to tell you, you don't need to panic. I've got the solution for you, and it's right here today. What you're looking at on my screen is actually our website, Clean 13. But I just want to change the screen for a second and show you my email box to show you just how littered it is with GDPR stuff. So we're talking about just for today alone. So we've got this company says they're ready for the GDR. This one says they're ready for the GDPR. This one's going to have a webinar about GDPR. This one's got policy updates about GDPR. This one's got to change his business due to GDPR. This one, that's actually me talking to my lawyer about GDPR, right? GDPR, 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 GDPR. This is someone trying to sell you stuff about GDPR. Don't ask me why I have 3 copies of it. Anyway, these people are trying to sell you stuff about GDPR, GDPR, GDPR. So what does this mean? And I'm sure your inbox looks a little bit like that. I happen to be in the email business, so I see a lot more about it, and I'm actually concerned about this stuff. So I may have a more full inbox than you do about this. And in full disclosure, I actually did a search for the term GDPR, so you didn't have to be wasting your time looking at the rest of my inbox. But you get the idea. That is stuff that's just in the last few days about GDPR. Now, I'm recording this on May 23rd, and 2 days away on May 25th is the actual deadline when companies have to be ready for this. Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, I'm a U.S. company. I don't have to be concerned with GDPR. And that's technically true and not true. If you have anyone from the European Union on your list, and that doesn't have to be someone who is a European Union citizen or someone born in the European Union. It's someone who resides in the European Union. Now, I have a close friend, business associate that I've known for about 15, 20 years, only through the online world. And while he's born in America and as American as apple pie, he actually lives with his entire family in Barcelona, Spain. So does GDPR affect him? Yes, it does. Does it affect any lists that he's on? Yes, it does. Now, while my associate is a marketer himself, and he's not going to necessarily report other email marketers because this is his business too, by mailing him, the act of mailing him, even if you're that American company, you're actually agreeing to comply or saying that you comply with the European Union statutes. Now, no one has proven yet what's going to happen when you don't comply with the European Union statutes. However, my prediction is this. I predict that a big company is going to get spanked very hard in the next 6 months. And they're going to prove that this $20 million fine is true. And that everyone is going to start scrambling. Who didn't scramble now is going to start scrambling to comply with this. And I also predict that a smallish person, someone that who's not as high profile as a big corporation, is also going to get spanked for this. And it's going to be kind of high profile. Why? Well, governments exist to make laws, right? And we, the people, supposedly elect them to make these laws on our behalf. But a lot of times the laws that they enact are just to raise money for the government and for the continued continuity of the government. So you've got to realize that they've got this law in their hands right now. All of us are scrambling to comply with it, as you can see from or not all of us, but a lot of us. And so therefore, the governments I can guarantee you, are aware of this and are definitely going to use it to raise money. Now, this isn't the first time it's happened. It's been going on for about 20 years, different laws that have been enacted and in different parts of the world. I predict that GDPR and the response to it is so big that and so wide-reaching that other governments have started to notice it and that they smell monetary gain from this. So I can assure you that more than likely, wherever in the world you are, there's going to be some inaction of similar statutes in the near future, okay? What I want to talk to you about, though, is that even though I've told you all this, and even though I'm saying that if you do business with anyone in the European Union, I've seen people say, I'm done, I'm not doing business with anyone in the European Union. Okay, great. That's certainly an option. I've also seen people say, I'm throwing out my list, my entire list. I don't even care where anyone's from. I'm just starting over from scratch. That is certainly an option too. I'm here to tell you today that there's actually a better way. And the better way is to simply do these few steps. First step is to identify the people on your list by their country, right? And the second step is to then segment or filter them out. So you break them into buckets, I call them, based on their country. So you have a European Union bucket, a US bucket, or non-European Union. Forget the US for a second. Let's just call it European Union, non-European Union, and unknown. 3 simple buckets, okay? So we've now identified, or we've given you the process to identify, segment, and then here's the thing, the decision is yours, what to do with it. Once you've done those 2 simple steps of identifying and segmenting, then the power is in your hands of what to do with the method. If you want to burn your list down and throw it away, by all means, go ahead. I'm here to tell you today that you're leaving money on the table and throwing money away, and you might as well light money on fire by throwing away your mailing list. I've been in the marketing business for 24 years, as I said, and in that time, one lesson that has been drilled into my head by all of my mentors before me, whether they were in email, whether they were in offline marketing, whether they were in a combination of both, what we call hybrid marketing, their overriding belief is that the money is in the list, okay? So that's something you might have heard before, a term you might have heard, that the money is in the list. And I'm here to tell you that that's absolutely true. I'm also here to tell you that the money's in the list, but only if you clean it, and then clean it and segment it, and then you have the power in your hands to decide what to do with it. Okay, so how do we identify people on our list? Well, a lot of times, most people have an email list. And again, I'm not judging how you collected that email list. This isn't a call about what's white hat, what's black hat, what's gray hat. I don't even care about that. If you have a list that you market to and make money from, that's what we're focused on here, okay? Your list is yours to do with what you want. You acquired it somehow, okay? And how you did so is your business. What I am here to tell you is that no matter how you acquired it, it is your responsibility to do those 3 things that I just talked about. Identify, segment, and decide. You're going to hear me say that quite a bit. How do you identify them? Well, the first thing that you do is when you collect that list or acquire that list, you may have different fields for the list members, okay? The most common field is obviously the email address, because it's an email list we're talking about. If you don't have an email address for somebody, that you can throw out, by all means. So find everyone on your list who you don't have an email address for and throw them away because they're useless. Actually, put them to a side for a second. Let's not throw away anything, and I'll explain that to you towards the end, all right? But put that aside. So we're now segmented. That's actually step 2, segmented. We found people on our list who don't have an email address, and we've pulled them off of our main bucket, our main segment, and we put them in a segment that we're going to call no email address, right? Presumably, you might have other fields as well. Say someone's first name, their last name, maybe their full name all together in one field, their street address, their city, their state, if they have a state in the locale that they're from, their postal code, or their country. Now, so you may actually have someone's country already on your list. And then all you need to do is put your list in some format that's sortable. I recommend using a spreadsheet program like Excel or OpenOffice, NeoOffice, like Numbers for the Mac, right? One of those programs, and then sort by the country field, and that will arrange everyone according to country. Now you've identified everyone on your list by their country, and you can then put them in the 3 buckets that I talked about: European Union, non-European Union, and unknown. Okay? After that, it's simply a decision on your part of what to do with those different buckets. Now, I'll show you something in my email that made me laugh today, right? Let's take a look at it. Okay, so we've got this company that I do business with who wrote to me today and said, okay, I know this is approximately the billionth email you've received this week about privacy policy. I'll make it quick. We don't have your opt-in recorded, and we'll be deleting you from our database. If you want to keep receiving marketing communications from us, please click here to confirm your opt-in. Now, this person obviously doesn't know what they're doing, and they need this presentation that we're doing right now. And we wrote back to them and told them, hey, we're not in the European Union. You don't have to send this to us. You're wasting your database. And we had a little back and forth. The details of that are irrelevant. But the point of this is that that's what you would do with that European Union segment. You would find people who were in Europe and you would send them a similar email to that. We don't have your opt-in recorded. We don't have your explicit consent, whatever you want to say. That stuff's boring and bland. And this call isn't about how to make email marketing sexy and interesting and fun. You know, if you want to learn that stuff, I recommend that you go follow someone like Ben Settle or John Buchan, guys like that who truly excel in helping you write sexy, sizzling emails that get people to respond. But this doesn't even have to be sexy or sizzling. Right now, everyone's getting it. But the point that I'm making is because everyone's sending this out right now, you're probably going to get a lot of people who ignore you. So you got to do something to stand out from the crowd. This call isn't about that. What all this call is saying is that now you've got them listed by their country. You know they're in the European Union bucket, and you send them an email similar to that. Boom. You record the consent. You've got the consent stored somewhere. There's a couple of other things that you need to do to comply with GDPR. I recommend you consult with your lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't even play one on TV. I'm just somebody who really knows this stuff inside and out, who doesn't happen to have a law degree because I'm in the email marketing and email deliverability business. Now, once they've opted in, you can continue mailing that person and not worry. Whoever doesn't, don't worry about them. Put them in another segment, and this is important. Don't throw them away yet. Put them in another segment. Did not opt in. Okay? You may want to never mail that person again, and I probably would recommend that. But there's also actually opportunity later on to approach this that, you know, is kind of a gray area. And we could talk about that later. But the point is, you've now mailed them. And everyone else, you can leave alone. You've got your non-EU list. It's guaranteed to be that. But what if you have someone who you don't know their country? So that's the unknown bucket. Well, that's a different use case. And in that case, we could try different ways to find out who they are. You could reach out to them and ask them, you know, to fill out a survey and say, are you, you know, can you give us your geographic location, et cetera. You could record their IP address and use, you know, have a developer give you some tool or script that lets you identify their country based on their IP address. Or sometimes your email service provider may record that access through, you know, opens and clicks, et cetera. You could tie out their IP address to their country, but that's not exactly guaranteeing that a person's country of residence is where they actually connected to you from. So that's a little bit of a funny area. So the unknown segment is something you've got a couple of choices to do. I would suggest probably reaching out to them. Now, you may be hearing this and saying, this is great information, Mark, but what if I don't have the country field? What if all I have is someone's email address? Okay, so this is where a great solution has come in. You're looking at my screen for Clean 13. We've been spending the past few months thinking about this and how we can provide a tool. By the way, Clean 13 is software, if you aren't familiar with it, that actually is focused on list hygiene. So people upload a list, right, just like this, and we run our hygiene software, and our hygiene software actually runs across people's list and looks for all the poisons in a person's list, and those include bad email addresses, bots, and spam traps, and bounces. Some of those you may know, some of those you may not know what they are. We don't want to spend too much time on them today, but suffice it to say, they are terrible email addresses that you don't want on your list. So what you want to do is when you're a Clean 13 member is you upload your list, we clean it, right? We give you a report that tells you, like, for instance, how many are verified. This is 85% of the list are verified, 5% are undeliverable, 2.64 are catch-all. Those are questionable email addresses that we don't necessarily recommend that you mail to. And then you've got a couple of others down here, right? Spam traps, complainers, varying degrees of bad and worse emails that you should or should not use. So then you run your list through that, you download them, and you upload the clean list that you've got, and then you are able to market to that. And we've seen our members enjoy fantastic deliverability improvements and a lot more money coming into their business because of the improved delivery and just overall satisfaction. Why are we different from other services that are out there? I've heard other people. Yes, we are. Most services only focus on whether someone is deliverable or undeliverable, and very few do the deep dive list analysis that we do, where we identify all of these. And probably one of the most important things that we identify are actually dormant email accounts, which are emails that you should never, ever, ever be emailing because they were active at one time, they no longer are, and they turn into these dreaded spam traps that are here, and that could actually damage your delivery at places like Gmail and Yahoo. So if you've got problems with that, by all means, come to Clean 13, check us out, and we can help you hygiene your list. So the tool that we built on top of Clean 13 is what we call our GDPR analysis tool. So let's say you've got only email addresses. You could upload them, clean them here, and then push them to our GDPR tool, which is a separate separate function of the system, separate charge, etc. But we only charge for if we can actually match it with, we run through some really cool algorithms that we've got, some third-party data sources that we are able to access, and we actually can identify someone's country and address and lots of other information on them based on just their email address. Now, when I say just their email address, you got to understand, you get much lower match rates. I'll show you something right here, and I'm going to pause the recording so that I can actually hide the email addresses on this because it is proprietary. Okay, so just hang on a second. Let's pause. Okay, so I've got this open. This is an actual test that we ran today. And you can see all that we had from this person was their email address. Now, and I'm going to show you the GDPR region. All right, so let's even sort by that. Okay, so you can see we've identified only about 23 people in the EU, and the rest, thankfully, a lot of non-EU, but a ton of unknown. So you see we've got the 3 buckets that we provide you for here. Okay, and you'll see it's not just the US, right? So we've got Morocco, we've got Canada, et cetera, and we're confident, beyond confident, that this is correct. But what happened was, because it's the email address only, we were only able to get about 10% of the list matched. Now, how do you improve that? Well, the more data that you give us on your list, let's say you've got the first name, you've got the last name, you might have the IP address, it lets us expand this. We've gotten up to about a 90% match rate with the more data that we have on person. So even, and actually if you've got the country and you just want to be 100% sure of it, well, then our match rates could be close to 90% to 100%, and you can be totally satisfied. We only charge you in this service for the matches. So anything that we haven't matched that we can't guarantee, we won't charge you for. So keep that in mind, all right? I think it's pretty fair pricing. We don't charge you for the whole list size, et cetera. And at that point, you've now got the confidence to go out and do what you need to do. We've identified for you. We've segmented for you. Now it's your decision for what are you going to do with them. I recommend you take your EU list and you send them an email one last time and ask them to opt in and record that consent. Make sure you check with your lawyer and see exactly that you're doing the thing that they want you to do. And then you take your non-EU list and you continue to market to them perfectly. You take your unknown list and you actually go ahead and do any of the things that I've talked about. Send them a survey, ask them where they're from, ask them to respond, find some interesting way to interact with them, and then you can confidently continue mailing. So with GDPR, is the sky falling? Absolutely not. Is this the end of the world? Absolutely not. Should you throw away your list? Absolutely not. We've got the solution for you right here. The solution is to identify, segment, and then decide what to do. The decide what to do is really the most important, because what it does is it gives you the power back into your hands. You're not scared and freaked out by 100 people trying to market different solutions to you, by all the lawyers selling you their multi-thousand-dollar solution, etc. Your job is then simply to take your list, identify, segment, and then decide what to do. So I hope that I've crystallized this down for you into a smart and simple solution to comply with GDPR. It's not going away. I do think that it's going to be, other countries are going to put out solutions similar to it. But if you follow my 3-step process, identify, segment, and then decide, you're going to be fine. You're going to be better than fine. We've got a fantastic solution for you at Clean 13 that can help your business no matter what. You know, we're going to get rid of all the poisons off your list. We're going to help you identify, segment, and decide. And in addition, you could use this to actually get much more information on your list, which is going to help you market different products to them. So if you identify their country, their address, their zip code, etc., you'll find there's lots of ways that we can market to them. In addition, with this tool, it's going to morph into this, as GDPR moves on, it's going to morph into the appending that I'm talking about. Where you'll be able to find out people's social profiles and find out more about their interests and tailor your marketing more to them. That's what the future of email marketing is. So I hope I've made GDPR crystal clear for you. I hope I've dispelled a lot of the myths and untruths. And I hope I've made it super clear to you that you don't have to be scared. All you need to do is identify, segment, and decide. This is Mark Goldman. Thanks to my partner, Chris Lang, for asking me to come on and make this video for you. I hope I've made it super simple for you on what you do. I hope I've dispelled all the crap about GDPR, and I've made it something that you can be calm about. Continue to market, continue to sell your products and services, continue to grow your business, and I'll talk to you very soon.